Well, I finally did it. I sliced my finger. How did I do it? Good Lord, these things are killing me. Glass top. A while back on this 125-gallon goldfish tank, that top came with those glass lids, and that one right there that I'm pointing at has some damage to the edge of it, and that's what sliced my finger. Why did I want to do a video about glass tops? Well, I've already done one in the past of the pros and cons of having them. I'll link that right up here, and you can go check that out. It's a pretty cool video. But regarding this situation, the reason why I wanted to make a video on it is because there's a couple things you might not know that you can do to improve your glass tops. We're going to discuss that in this video, and a little bonus thing that you might not heard of, which is a tropical fish disease. People have landed up in the hospital with a disease that took a while to figure out, that you can get from tropical fish and the water. So if you come along and you slice your finger like that and you happen to get some of that water in there, you're very susceptible to getting this disease if you have it. Now, it's rare, but it does happen. But why take the chance at all if you can by watching the tips in this video? So let's jump right into it. So as you can see, this area right here is the part that I got cut on, right? So one of the things you can do is get some fine grit sandpaper and make sure you wet it. And you can run it on there to smooth that up. I do recommend being careful doing this because you could still cut yourself, but definitely using a fine grit sandpaper, as long as you keep it wet, you can do that to sand that down. The best thing to sand and polish glass is a silicon carbonate sandpaper for doing it. That works the best, but you can go the cheaper route and get the finer grit sandpaper and just wet it and sand it down. That's one method of getting those edges so you don't cut yourself like I did, as depicted in the thumbnail. That's basically it, but I wanted to move on to the next part of some different things you can do with your glass tops. On these glass tops I got for my 55-gallon Tiger Barb tank, it came with these plastic edges that you can slide right on, and this is where they're supposed to be. There's one on each side, and what's nice about that is if you're like me, where you went to feed your fish and you go to pick it up and you slip off and the lid slams down, it's really loud, it startles the fish, and you are taking a chance to break it, especially thinner lids like this. When you add these to the end, that cushions that blow, and it just, you can see, it's not near as loud when they hit. I mean, that sounded loud on the camera, but trust me, it's not. Anybody that has glass lids and heavier ones for bigger tanks knows how loud that can be. So this is another nice thing that you can add to your glass top to help cushion that, and it makes it a lot nicer. If you wanted to go a cheap route and your tops did not come with this, you can go to your Lowe's, Home Depot, wherever you can go and get things like this that'll fit for like soffit and fascia or siding in your house. They make these kind of things that you can do. A lot of people will take the hinge off and put those J channels or whatever they're called on each side and make sliding glass tops as opposed to hinged. But I've never done that. I always like my hinges, but these do eventually break. I have replaced these many times in the past. I just keep replacing them because you can buy long sticks of these and just cut them to fit and replace. But sliding is nice too. That's got its benefits as well. So let's talk about a couple other things regarding glass lids. I'll take you over to my 125-gallon community tank and show you what I did over there with that, because it was a little bit different how I had to put some glass tops on that aquarium. So this is an older 125-gallon aquarium I got in a really sweet deal locally. These older aquariums, as you can see here, I'll just go ahead and remove this one too. On the older aquariums, they used the big glass bracing as the center brace and support. So as you can see, here's the plastic center brace. This is a really wide center support. So because of the way this is designed, they did not have glass tops that universally would just fit on this aquarium that I could find. And if you did find it, you're going to pay a pretty good price. So if you know somebody, I have a friend, a coworker that I work with, who had a buddy that still works for the glass company he worked for, and I gave him the measurements, and he just went ahead. This is scrap glass that they were going to throw out, and he went ahead and cut them to fit for me, right? And he even beveled the edges for me, and then I used those stick-on plastic hooks so I can grab a hold of it. So in a sense, when I was talking about this type that you can make the slide instead of hinge, these do that. As you can see, when I want to feed this tank or I'm doing work, well, if I'm doing work, I'll take them off. But if I just want to feed them, I'll grab my hooks, slide both of them up for a bigger area to put food in like that. but they are two separate pieces, one in the front, one in the back. They were a perfect fit. So I still got my glass tops to fit, and this was free for me. I paid nothing for this. So that's something to think about as well. If I wanted to, I could get some of that hinge and hinge these, but I like this. It's different. It's actually easier to work with. So just wanted to share that experience with you as well. Lastly, I wanted to talk about the tropical fish disease you can actually get from your aquarium if it's infected with this disease. People have got it in the past and ended up in the hospital, and one of which, there's several of them, but one of which is called granuloma. And it can come up as like lesions on your skin, but what it does is it becomes an infection, and it can make you pretty dang sick if you happen to get it. It's a rare thing, but the reason why I want to touch on this subject is when I cut my finger like that, and that's the thing you need to watch the most. If you, like me, what I do for a living, I use my hands a lot, and I'm constantly cutting them, hitting them with hammers, whatever the case may be. If you have an open cut on your hand, and as fish keepers, our hands are always in these tanks. Much like when I cut my hand on that tank, on that glass lid. I made sure I went and obviously used peroxide, disinfected it, and cleaned it out, and left my hand out of that aquarium until it heals up. It's very important not to take that lightly, because there's all kinds of living organisms in our aquariums. Now, as I said, it is rare, but this can happen. So keep in mind, anytime you have an open cut on your skin that you know can be susceptible to getting infections and diseases, try to remember to leave that hand out of the aquarium, use the other one, or if you don't need to really do anything, maybe hold off a little bit until that heals up and you get, you know, scabbed over so that wound is closed, so it's not open to these infections and diseases and bacteria from that. It's just something I just wanted to touch on. If you're curious about this disease, you can look it up. There's videos about it, there's documents about it. It's something to keep in mind when we're working on our fish tanks and you do stuff like I did with cutting yourself, so don't take that lightly. So, but that's it for this video. If you want a more in-depth subject on glass tops, like I said, just check that video out I shared and check it out. I talk about some things on there you might not have even thought about. So until next video, I certainly appreciate your time. Be safe, enjoy your weekend, and see you on the next one.